Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new episode of Nanatsu no Taizai, Imashime no Fukkatsu, or you can call it the 7 Deadly Sins Revival of the Commandments, which is on episode 2. Now, this episode here was actually pretty cool, not too bad. Although when I looked at the episode and watched the raw version and then the subbed version here and there, it feels like to me that something kind of went wrong or something, or it's just going by too fast. And I'll get to that just a moment when I finish this recap, okay? So if anything else, let's go. We have to it that that Fraudulent is greeted by by someone who he calls his brothers, Fraudulent and Dreyfus's body, obviously. And we have to it that that each one of these people are being named apparently, and apparently these people are known to be this. One is called Derie, a purity, Esterosa, a love, Galan, a truth, Greyward, a pacifism, Melascular, a faith, Monspit, a retinence, Zeldris, the piety, Galaxinia, a repulse, and Droll, the patience, etc. The title was given to them right there. And apparently they ask him what's going on here and there, and one of them, which is Galaxinia, asked him, like, why is it that we are the only ones given here, huh? How come you couldn't release anyone else? And Fraudulent explains that he couldn't get enough goddess blood here and there, and he apologizes. Aside from that, Zeldris says we need to rest up and we need to regain our magic power. So here's how we're going to do it. Let's go to a certain location, alright? And they all end up flying away while Hendrickson ends up being shocked in all of their presence alone. We had to it that after the opening, which I enjoy watching all the time, King and Bon, along with Jericho, that she followed Bon, ends up going to the Fairy King's forest. And King, on the other hand, was very happy to see his friends here and there, but they call him a traitor and they welcome Bon instead. And we had to it that Bon shows King Elaine's body or corpse, and apparently King could not look at Elaine and therefore ran off because of what happened. We have to it that Bon tells Elaine his vow, oath, or promise that he will bring her back to life somehow. And we have to it that the fairies tells Bon like, hey, you need any help? Let us know. We can help you out. And Bon says, then stop calling me your boss or king. Your king is Harley Quinn over there, right? The one who just showed up at the forest. But they go like, no way, he's not our king. He's the one that abandoned the fairy forest and Elaine to their death, and everything was destroyed, etc. And we have to it that Bon asked him a very, very crucial question by saying, so, does a king like me, who tried to kill his only best friend in the world to bring back one girl, deserves to be called a king? And they did not say anything right there. And we have to it that Gilthunder, Hauser, and Greedamore are going to go on a journey, but not before they say their goodbyes here and there. And we have to it that it had some scene switches with Elizabeth talking to Meliodas, and Meliodas does not want Elizabeth to come along with him to another journey here and there, you know? And of course there is a scene with like Deanne and Elizabeth talking about like Meliodas, and Elizabeth falling in love with Meliodas. And of course Deanne tells him, you have to tell the captain how you feel then, and go on from there. But Elizabeth says, nah, it's okay. But Deanne tells Elizabeth that she has to because of what Deanne tells Elizabeth of her feelings. She just finally remembers King of all of her memories, and just like could not like get in any other shape or way to try to get things going here and there, you know? And she even misses King right now, and she's in love with King because she got her memories back, which is said in this episode, etc. And of course, it does go to a scene switch in this episode during it that King ends up being dissed on by the other fairies by calling him a traitor, by saying, you have any idea that a lot of animals and a lot of fairies died because you weren't there? Do you have any idea what happened by then, huh? And we have to it that Oslo defends King, etc., and King is trying to wonder what he's supposed to do since the 7 deadly sins are no longer needed, along with like whatchamacallit, and everything else seems to be at peace. We have to it that he ends up saying, "What am I?" And then he puts on the helmet that his best friend gave him. But apparently his best friend Helbram, of course, says, "You're just the same crybaby runt here and there." And he ends up passing on a message to King, etc., by telling him like that Elaine wants me to be with you a little bit longer, and he ends up passing on a message from Elaine by saying, your sister wants you to protect Bond. And of course, like King says, why should I protect someone like Bond or something, like a savage? And Bond's like, who are you calling a savage, huh? And he ends up saying, are you okay? Because King can only see Helbram in the helmet, while Bond cannot see Helbram, and thinks that King is kind of crazy because of like he's talking to himself. And we have to it that Bond explains to King that he's gonna leave the forest and find a way how to bring back Elaine after like he finishes his business here. And we have to it that Jericho wants to come along, but Bond's like, this is not your concern, okay? And we have to it that King tells Bond, then you should tell this to Merlin and Captain. I'm kind of concerned for you. But Bond says, I quit the 7 deadly sins already. I'm not going back. And we have to it that Bond teased King about Deanne dying of loneliness, and he did mention this at the beginning of the episode, and King stabbed him with this chastifol for that. And King says, I'm not going to fall for that the second time. And Bond's like, I'm not lying though. Like, she really, really is trying to, like, she's really, really missing you right now, etc. And King realizes and goes like, don't tell me she got her memories back. And Bond's like, go back to her then, dude. And we have to it that, Deanne, there's a scene switch with Deanne and Elizabeth talking to each other, you know? And we have to it that Deanne and Elizabeth, after having a couple exchange of words about Deanne saying that she will tell King about her feelings to him, and they end up finding Zeal wandering around the street, and they go like, hey, what are you doing? And Zeal's like, who are you? Who's Gilla? Etc., you know? And this is where things are getting very hectic from here on out, you know, etc. If you watch the episode, or if you manga readers know what I'm talking about. We have to it that Gother was told by Merlin to take a medicine of this and take a dose each day to keep an eye on your magic power, okay? And we have to it that Gother, on the other hand, went outside, spits out the medicine, and ends up like throwing the vial of cubes of medicine, and ends up leaving with Gila. But not before, like, Emilio says, hey, we're about to get ready to leave in a few days. Are you finished packing? And Gother's like, is that an order? And Emilio is like, that's not really an order, but and Gother says, okay, I decline. And he ends up going with Gila. We had to it that Hawk ends up eating the medicine that Gother left behind, and we see to it that Meliodas ends up talking to Merlin right now about like what's really bad right now. He ends up explaining that the 10 commandments have just awakened, etc. And we have to it that Merlin says, I'm sorry, I just gotten a little like excited here and there or something. So this is a topic we need to talk about, but before they could like get into the topic, they see Hawk acting a little bit strange, and Gother on the other hand was talking to Gilla and about to have a fun time with her. But we have to it that Deanne on the other hand tells Gilla, yo, what's wrong with Zeal? Do you have any idea what's going on? And we have to it that that Gilla's like, Zeal, what are you talking about? And we have to it that that it's revealed by Gotha that he manipulated the memories of Zeal and Gilla, which is really, really, really annoying, honestly. I remember when I read this in the manga, I was like pretty much shocked and disgusted. Because Gotha, on the other hand, explains that he saved Gilla by manipulating Gilla's memories and saving her from the demon's blood power, etc. But as for Zeal, he ends up changing things completely or erase them. And we had to it that Gother explains he did those things to try to like understand emotions, and when he saw the fight with Bond and the captain, he realizes it's love that he's trying to understand and what lies beyond that. And of course, Deanne was really disgusting and says, you shouldn't be messing with people's memories like that, no matter how painful or ugly it is. And Gother explains to Deanne, so do you really recommend that the painful and suffering that Gila has in her mind is really, really necessary? And we had to it that Deanne's like, of course, no matter how painful and how miserable it is, they can't forget about this. And we had to it that Deanne tells Elizabeth to go find Merlin and the captain to stop all this. And we had to it that Elizabeth is doing that, and Gother was trying to stop her, but Deanne stops Gother, and they end up having to exchange a couple blows of clash. And we had to it that people are like watching Deanne and Gother right now, and Deanne's like, stop it, Gother, I don't want to cause a commotion. And therefore Gother says, yeah, you're right, let's do this. He therefore activates his sacred treasure and uses blackout, and he knocks out like a lot of people. And Deanne's like, what the hell did you just do? And Gother explains that, okay, those who are in the radius of like a couple miles or whatever the number he says in this area, I pretty much like whatchamacallit, I end up having to like knock them out. Those who has a spirit of 400 or below, it's pretty much like saying that they cannot like stay alive or conscious any further, etc. And we had to it that Deanne gets really more upset about this, and Gother and Deanne gets ready to clash against each other. So yeah, overall, like the episode alone was actually pretty cool. I mean, the only thing I was concerned about was like I think it went by pretty too fast. So I decided to go back and look into the scenes of the manga, see if they adapted any of the scenes. I know they made a couple changes here and there, and I just looked into that as best as I can, and apparently like A1 did make a couple changes and some scenery changes with the scene switches with Bond and King in one episode and some parts here and there of the episode. And of course that kind of got me a little like concerned, because it feels like to me it was kind of going by pretty fast. But I will say this for sure, despite certain changes here and there, they are adapting the manga correctly. Despite the fact that they had some scene switches like going back and forth in the Kingdom of Leonis, etc., you know? And of course Elaine's body is clothed up compared to the manga, it's like completely naked. Just making a connection to that to let you know, etc., you know? So, yeah, I mean, I think they're adapting it correctly, although there were some changes in some scenes here and there. Some scenes from the manga did not get adapted. I mean, some of them are kind of fan service, obviously, in a certain sense, but it still works in a certain way, not too bad, not too long ago. So, yeah, that was my only concern, like, if they were adapting the manga correctly, but apparently like apparently they did adapt many of the scenes correctly. There were just maybe some scenes that just gotten cut out, maybe with like with Gother having to spend time with Gila and having to change Zeal's memories, that was cut out. And of course like I said, they made some major changes here and there. Although they did adapt some of the scenes correctly, etc., they just like having to switch them at like different parts of the scenes that kind of like might be a little confusing. What I'm trying to say is, in other words, if you're very confused with what I'm saying, is that there are some scenes that weren't adapted, though like they're not too important because some of them were kind of fan service in a certain sense. And when it came to like the scenes switching here and there with King and Bond and Elizabeth, Deanne, and the other deadly sins and Leonis, they just made it a little confusing for me. But they did adapt many scenes from the manga, that's for sure, but they did omit and cut out some scenes or edit some scenes, but it still worked out. So overall, like I said, they made some changes here and there, but it still it's still working out. Although it was still a little confusing for me at the end because it felt a little too fast. I'm pretty sure those of you guys who watched the episode and those of you guys who are manga readers or something may understand what I'm trying to say. So until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. So I'm Officer People. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright? Peace out. Bye-bye. Toot-toot-toot!